So we invited SY Lau here today at Mishcon's Academy because as part of our Asia group, we are deeply interested in being as brilliantly educated as we can be about what's happening in Asia.
China has become a dominant force in the kind of world economy for such a long time, and it's really good to see that we're starting to look in that direction. I think in some ways it's been overshadowed by the kind of PR machine of Silicon Valley, and I think more and more now we're starting to realise actually there's a Silicon Valley starting to emerge to the east.
And the lessons for us at Mishcon Reya are all around the importance of embracing technology. We talk about being technologically transformed in our 10-year vision. We're actively engaging across the piece in what that looks like by practice. But this was a wake-up call. This was like, hold on a minute, this is brewing here, but the coffee's made over there, and we need to catch up, and we need to catch up fast. And that's a mindset thing, and it's an investment thing. I think we can do it, but for everyone watching today, everyone in the room, they heard loud and clear, we've got some work to do.
We have actually traveled the world selectively over the years. We have done this for many, many years with a single-minded mission and with the types of evangelist mindset within our minds to trying to share stories about Asia, stories about China, the experience that we have seen, the little world that we have built that turned into a digital-oriented nano world, if you like. The idea was to talk to people that share the same values, same visions, and hopefully when they have better understanding between youngsters, we speak to children, we speak to university students and all that. This common world that we each live in would be a much better place. Sounds very philosophical, but you guys in the law firm, I believe that more than, hopefully majorities of us still believe in those sort of thinking. Hence, we have actually made presentations to senior government officials, policymakers, C-suites, executives of multinational companies, whatever CEOs, CMOs and all that, students and individuals. And we have met with presidents, prime ministers, you name it, members of parliaments, entrepreneurs. Basically what we're trying to say is that, look, we have seen the world and we have seen all the big guys in work. But today you can sense that I'm still very petrified. As never before have my team and I have appeared in a room with so many lawyers. So we had to quickly then step back and say, what can we share with our friends from London? They are smart, intelligent people, Lincoln's Inns and all, that they have not known. Well, perhaps, maybe not. Maybe not so much with the eagerness of trying to say that this is what you should do, but maybe turn the world around to say that perhaps this is what we have seen in Asia. Tencent, like what Elliot has said, we built a company from 18 years ago from a staff. When I was recruited in the top management of the company, we had like 2,000 people. And today, we are fortunate to be responsible for the livelihood of 40,000 families. So we have 40,000 people with us. And our market cap is probably, I don't know, about 300 billion over US dollars. So that makes us like the 6th or the 7th largest public listed company in the world. Now I got your attention. Lawyers. Now, I guess maybe there's a license, there's a reason why we all ought to be sitting here together. You are great in mapping out what your future ought to be and the little things that we have observed thousands of miles away. And whether it was the East or whether it was the West, we all have to commonly agree to one single fact, that the world that we are living in today is becoming a little bit confusing for many. All of a sudden, the world is faced with the largest economy, but with the status of developing nation. You know, when you talk about developing nation, the cultural thinking, mentality, the way of conducting business, the way that people look at power, the way that people look at how executive power, how things are being done, decisions are being made, investment, what they call cross-border currency transfers and all that are very different from what we are used to in the West. The reason why China is so different from the West is because China, first of all, is not a nation state. It's a civilization state. In the US and in Europe, for that matter, in the US is a nation state. Systems are all in place. But China, for the past 5,000 of years, it was basically war after war, warriors after warriors. China has grown to become the second largest economy in the world. There are more cars being sold in China than any parts in the world, and these cars are imported cars, and there are more luxurious brands sell the biggest numbers of sales from China. And no multinational companies today would survive a board meeting if the leadership did not have a clearly spelled out short-term, medium-term, and long-term strategy, a blueprint for China. I have personally hosted more than 5 chairmen of Fortune 500 companies, chairmen of Fortune 500 companies that came to either Beijing, Shenzhen, or Shanghai with their entire board. And that basically means that the destiny and the faith of Chinese companies, Chinese economy, and countries around the world are so intertwined that it would be absurd to even let these prosperity thoughts slide back to the eras of containment. Well, granted, China will have to learn to dance to the beats of the global order and will, of course, figure out seriously some more pragmatic ways to use his or her newly found influence. And that, again, these lines of speech that I've just delivered to you, it was reported by one of the publications in London. It didn't come from me. Now, what about the future as defined in, say, short 3 years horizons? Well, simply put, China will become one of the pioneering nations that will excel in the world of artificial intelligence. Now, hear what I'm saying. I'm not talking about GDPs. I'm not talking about militaries. I'm not talking about anything, ideology, democracies, and all that. I single-handedly just picked the key topics, artificial intelligence. 2 weeks ago, Goldman Sachs reports on China's rise in AI clearly spelled out the next phase of disruption that will drive the revolutionary transformations of China from an industrial-based economy to one that will be a consumption-based economy. Go figure. In the past, when you think about the GDP's components, I for investment, G for government expenditures, and then C for consumption. But how do you link C with technology? Apparently with AI, the empowerment of consumption is being sped up in a way that's beyond our imaginations. In China, you all of a sudden, you have 3 big companies the world would have come to know as BAT, the Baidu, the Tencent, and Alibaba. This is very similar to Google. I don't know what we are similar to with today because we are like everyone. Despite your 10 years vision say that you shouldn't be everything to everybody. I remember that. But we seem to be like now we are in games, we're in everything. And one fine day we have to sit down to see what we really want to be, right? And then Alibaba is another great company that redefine how transactions, how commercializations is doing in China. Collectively, these 3 companies, with hundreds and thousands of other entrepreneurial companies, these are tech companies. They have created a landscape, a multifaceted and multi-industry digital ecosystem that touches every aspect of consumers' lives, expanding into more and more products and services spanning multiple industries. The combined monthly active users of WeChat and Weixin, for that matter, we have 963 million users. And the overall numbers of China's internet users in China is just 751 million. What it basically means is for some reason, some guys feel the need to have 2 different QQ numbers, 3 different WeChat numbers. We shall not go into details. It's not a good practice you should do, but a good practice for us in that sense. And the key is that Tencent is definitely far more than just a WeChat company. Mary Meekers, one of the great ladies, evangelists, if you like, within our industry, she publishes reports every year that kind of study the trends in the past and predicts the future. So back in the reports of 2017, Mary Meekers has paid tribute to Tencent, being a company that has represented more than 50% of all Chinese mobile usage, larger than the market share of all the competitors combined. What it basically means is that this company kind of, anything that you go online, we kind of are there for 50% of the time. Now, cut a very long story short, if you were to look at this chart, from our very first product, QQ, that you mentioned, which was launched in 1999, to WeChat, we as a company have continuously reshaping the lifestyles of the Chinese people. And we turn this city with ones and zeros, with Alibaba, with Baidu, and hundreds of others, and making China into many, many small, smart cities. I'm increasingly aware that this is actually not a story about Tencent. It is about a story about how a digital nation was transformed, a digital society was reformed, and the birth of a whole new digital infrastructure. And most of all, a new era calling for new demands, new needs has arrived. Now, in closing, I'm here simply to assure you that you have all it takes to continue to be the sword of the justice. And let it be remembered that this is the firm that has defended Professor Deborah Lipstadt in her lonely struggle for justice. And let it be known that it is this firm that was part of the Article 50 legal challenge that will soon mean something in history. And finally, when Nelson Mandela awarded the veterans of the struggle to some of our partners here, let us all learn that there is no disruption too great to overcome for those who have faith in the purpose and the righteousness of your struggle. Thank you, my lords.